Hello, Kev. I wonder if that's going to work. How well that's going to work. Oh, that'll do. Hello, how's it going, mate? As promised, I'll just put a little video together because I'll be able to explain it a little bit better and maybe show you a couple of things. I definitely get some pain. More often than not, it's in my right bicep tendons can get pretty inflamed. I've had it in the past when squatting. It was in my shoulders, oddly enough, and the fix for that for me at the time was to use some dumbbells, and before doing a squat session I'd just do a few sets of just strict shoulder military press with some dumbbells, nothing heavy, nothing to fatigue the shoulders at all. I'd just like grab a couple of 10k dumbbells and just bang out a few sets. That worked really well for that. As I've said, the squats seem to trigger it less for me, but I imagine that may change if I was to be squatting super regularly. I tend to squat only about once a week, twice a week, depending on how my training falls. But pressing really absolutely beats up my elbows, particularly my right one. I've seen a physio a few times because I've actually, I don't know if you can see, you can definitely see I can overextend this left one compared to the right one, and that's just due to the tightness. I've seen a physio about it a few times. I had at one point where I couldn't bend it any more than like that, or straighten it any more than that. It was like really super painful, and it felt like there was something physically stopping me. So that was definitely something I had to learn to fix, and I'll show you why I did fix that in a second. The other thing that I get quite a lot of pain is it feels like it's in my low back. As it turns out, it's not, because it kind of feels like it's just on the right hand side. It turns out it's my SI joint on my right hip. Everything that's fucked about me seems to be on my right hand side. It's probably related. When I saw the physio guy, Dan, I think you know Dan, don't you? Or you've seen Dan a little bit. He's got he said that my right hamstring was definitely either tighter or shorter than my left one, which has a knock-on effect and makes everything a little bit more difficult up one side, although that shouldn't really affect my right arm, I shouldn't have thought. Anyway, so for my right SI joint, sometimes that really hurts. I don't want to say really hurts, but it becomes a niggling pain, and it can sometimes make me feel a bit uncomfortable, just generally in life. And I notice when it's hurting, I become, my left side kind of overcompensates. So for squat, sometimes I can watch the video and I can see going into the hole, and then as I come back up, I like favour my left side, and suddenly it's just the body's way of saying there's something wrong here. I'm gonna just try and leave, which is going to cause imbalances and injuries as well. So I've got to be kind of careful about that. So one of the things I do for my hip is obviously the reverse hyper. Some of that traction really helps. I do all sorts of variations of that. Sometimes I go, there's just that's just a whole thing. So if that ever comes up, but you're not suffering from any hip pain. But my point is, I have to regularly do this shit to make it so that I'm not in pain. Like sometimes I get lazy and I think, it's fine, and I don't even think about it, and I just go on and do something else. But it causes me problems a couple of weeks down the line, and then I have to I have to ease back the intensity of my training to be able to then quickly get on top of the pain issue. I do quite a lot of hip opening, like hip stretches as well, really help, and adductor and abductor exercises. I tend to do some bits and pieces on there that also really help the SI joint. So I think in all likeliness, it's probably caused by an overdevelopment of like some of those muscle groups that are used for the heavy lifting, and probably more than anything is the adductors, which I think are the ones inside that I think there's probably a weakness there. Anyway, so biceps. After that, you get my point. There's always floating. The point I'm getting at here is there's always going to be some floating pain, and you're always going to be working around it. And part of the longevity in lifting is definitely going to be trying to work out ways to rehab, prehab, whatever you want to call it, basically so you can keep on training. So, first thing, some direct bicep work. You don't have to do very much. I would definitely speak, you know, you're getting your coaching from Lars, you're paying really good money for that, so I would absolutely urge you to speak to him first and get him to maybe add it as a consideration into your programming. But for me, what really works, okay, so some direct bicep work, I kind of like kind of a preacher curl. I don't have a preacher bench or anything like that, so I just get into a sort of a you've probably seen a video of me doing it before. Hang on, I'll just do this. I will quite often just put myself into a position. I'm just going to use this kettlebell as an example. I will literally just put my elbow up against my knee as a support. It's kind of like so at the bottom of the rep, my elbow is being stretched open a little bit, and then I just carefully curl the weight. And I don't do much of this, just sort of 5 to 8 reps. 5 to 8 reps for maybe like 2 to 3 sets on each arm. That really works well. I haven't got my dumbbells at the moment. When this COVID thing happened, when lockdown happened, I gave my dumbbells to my stepfather. So he's got those at the moment, but again, some seated, whatever, just some hammer curls, just really, and it helps stretch it out and it helps just strengthen a muscle that, like I said, you're not really doing any bicep work directly, but you will be. It's unlikely that you're not training it in some way. Most rowing or pressing, it's a stabilizer, antagonist, or whatever you want to call it. You're going to be hitting it quite regularly, even just shifting weights around the gym and whatnot. And here's another thing, and this is probably why my right one is worse than my left one. How much of your time do you spend like this, looking at your phone, your bicep, you can't really see it here because of the camera angle, but you get my point. If you're on your phone, this bicep is shortened all the time. And I know that you work at a computer because you're a software tester, like me. How often are your arms like this? Again, it's shortening that. You need to spend a significant amount of time with it straightened out, stretched, to make sure it doesn't sort of become natural for it to just always be shortened, because then it's always going to cause some pain and some issues. So yeah, a little bit of direct bicep work like that. And this is another really good one, which I do. It doesn't work quite as well with kettlebell because the weight is underneath rather than to the sides. But on a dumbbell, it really works well. But I can demonstrate it on this, and it's good enough till I get my dumbbells. In fact, I'm probably going to buy some of those nice Rebel Strength ones. Anyway, is just twists. With a dumbbell, this will go a lot slower because the inertia as you try and change the direction is harder to change that direction. It's got to be kind of a heavy enough weight that you get that kind of inertia, because it's that when I get to the full extension and I change the direction, it actually stretches another few inches out in either direction, both ways, and it really stretches. So I think one of the bicep tendons kind of comes in through here and links in down to your forearm, and that one gets really beaten up for me, and another one probably comes in down here somewhere, probably over, and I don't know what the bones here are called, but I think you got one reaching the top, one on the bottom. So yeah, these these twists are absolutely brilliant for me. And yeah, like I said, it's a lot of these movements just regularly. Like I said, I've got to do it at least once a week. Better yet, it's probably best to just do it several times a week. Just a little bit. When I was working with Clint, he would have me doing lots of these little things, like if I had some bit of pain or EC or a little bit of weakness. Abs was always something for me every session. He didn't want me to go mad to the point where my abs were always hurting, but just always working on those abs, like some standing crunches or whatever, just to keep working on it, because it's these little things that you don't train directly that are going to cause you a little bit of problems. Shoulder health, you've probably heard a million times, like really focusing on those rear delts, again, just helps build up the shoulder health. And I'm of the opinion that all these little things, a little bit direct work, little often, not too crazy, really important about to keep you lifting, because at the end of the day, your ability to get stronger is going to be limited by how consistent you can be. You know, whenever I've been helping anyone in the gym, and the guys will tell you this as well, it's like as soon as somebody starts missing sessions, I kind of lose interest in helping them at all, because I know that the key is essentially consistency. I don't even care if you're not that intense. Like if I was helping someone and their heart's not really in it for a month, like it doesn't matter, as long as even when they're feeling shitty and they're not doing really well, as long as they just keep plugging away, it's fine. And it's exactly the same thing with the rehab work. It sucks, it's boring, but it helps you keep you injury free, which means you can train for those 12 months a year. And that's going to help. Like I said, so yeah, takeaways. My point is, you're always going to have the floating pain. You've got to learn your body and learn the ways in which you can fix yourself. If none of this works, fine, go and buy yourself an SSB. They are expensive. And if you can do some of this stuff, it's probably better for you than just, again, limiting your range of motion even more. And you're avoiding the pain, you're avoiding those stretches, which is fine, but there are other things that I think you should try first. Anyway, hopefully this is useful. Hopefully you don't get a knocking off from Loz. I don't think you will. I'm pretty sure he's going to be roughly on the same page, and I'm absolutely certain he's probably going to be able to help you out. Certainly in getting some extra bits in your program. He may not even give you that much details. He may just say, sure, just add in a few sets of biceps every session or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, cheers then, Kev. I'll speak to you later.